What if it finally happened? What if tensions, threats, and proxy skirmishes boiled over into something bigger? Something no one truly wants, but no one can fully stop? A full-scale war between Iran and the United States. It's not just two militaries clashing. It's the kind of war that ripples across borders, economies, and lives, changing everything. So, what could really happen if this war breaks out? Let's take a look. The first thing the world would feel is a shockwave in the price of oil. Iran sits on the edge of the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway through which nearly 20% of the world's oil flows. If Iran decides to block it, or simply makes it too dangerous for tankers to pass, fuel prices would skyrocket overnight. Not just in the US, not just in the Middle East, everywhere. You'd feel it at the pump, in your grocery bill, in your electricity prices. And just as the markets are reeling, a quieter, invisible war would erupt online. Both nations have powerful cyber forces. Iran has already hit US banks and infrastructure before. Imagine what they'd do if there were no more limits. Banks freeze, airports shut down, power grids flicker and fail. The internet becomes a battlefield. But the war wouldn't stay digital for long. Soon missiles would fly, troops would move. And the neighbors would feel it fast. Iraq, already scarred from decades of conflict, could become a frontline. Israel might strike preemptively. Saudi Arabia could respond to Iran's allies, and suddenly, the whole region is burning. And amidst the chaos, millions of innocent people would try to run. Fleeing from airstrikes, from collapsed buildings, from broken cities. They'd head for borders, for shelters, for anywhere safe. And just like that, a new refugee crisis begins, one that could rival Syria or worse. Meanwhile, far from the battlefields, stock markets would tumble. Supply chains would break. The cost of doing business would soar. And countries already hanging by an economic thread, they'd fall. A global recession wouldn't be just possible, it would be inevitable. But here's where things get even darker. Iran isn't alone. They have allies, some official, some in the shadows. Hezbollah in Lebanon, militias in Iraq, the Houthis in Yemen, groups who could launch their own attacks, open new fronts. Suddenly, embassies are under fire. US bases are hit. The war spreads not because it's planned to, but because it's impossible to contain. And that means every US military installation in the region becomes a target. From Qatar to Bahrain to Iraq, American soldiers far from home could find themselves under constant attack. The US would respond with overwhelming force. And with every strike, and that means every US military installation in the region becomes a target. Back in Iran, the economy would crumble. Sanctions have already pushed it to the brink, but war would destroy it. The currency would collapse. People would lose access to medicine, food, electricity. Not just fear, but fury could erupt in the streets. And then, there's the unthinkable. Iran's nuclear program. While they deny building a bomb, conflict might push them over the line. Desperation changes red lines. And if Iran gets too close, how far would the US go to stop it? And while all of this unfolds, the world watches, outraged, divided, afraid. Protests break out. In Europe, in the US, across the Middle East. People demand answers. They demand peace. And yet, the machine of war keeps turning. This war wouldn't be just another chapter in history, it would be a global turning point. A moment with no reset button. But what do you think? Could war between Iran and the United States actually happen? And if it does, what would scare you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more videos that break down the world's most critical turning points, Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Stay informed, stay aware, and most importantly, stay thinking.